Thank you all for coming. We've gathered here today to talk about one of my favorite topics, poker. Some people consider poker to be comparable to spinning the roulette wheel or throwing dice on the craps table. Getting good cards in poker can definitely help a player win, but there is more to it than just the cards. Poker pro Mark Parlinsky once said, "The smarter you play, the luckier you'll be." There are numerous strategies used by poker players to maximize their profits and minimize their losses. Poker is a game of extreme complexity that requires a substantial amount of thought and strategy. In this informative speech, I will teach you, my live audience of poker enthusiasts, and my audience of college students about the strategies that are used by skilled players to help them win more often than lose. In the poker world, the word outs refers to the amount of cards that can help a player to win the hand. For example, there are 13 cards of each suit in a deck of cards. Let us pretend that you have 2 spades in your hand and there are 2 spades on the board. This would mean that you have 9 outs left to hit a flush. 13 minus 2 equals 9. If you want to try to hit a flush, you should calculate your odds of winning the pot. To do this, you must take the amount of cards remaining in the deck that cannot be seen and subtract out your number of outs. Proceeding with the previous example, there are 52 cards in a deck and you have 2 cards in your hand and there are 4 cards visible on the board. This would mean that there are 46 unknown cards in the deck. You will need to subtract out your 9 outs from the unknown 46 cards. Now you know the odds of winning the pot are 37 to 9, which simplified would be approximately 4 to 1. Now you know your odds of winning the pot, but that's not enough information. You will need to calculate your pot odds to know if it is wise to call a bet. Pot odds is the ratio of money that could be won compared to the size of your opponent's bet. Proceeding with the previous example, let's imagine there's $80 in the pot and your opponent bets $10. Now there is $90 in the pot that could be won. If you call the bet, you would make $9 for every dollar that you put in the pot. This means the pot odds are 9 to 1. Poker pro and author Sean Lynn explains that any time a player's pot odds are significantly higher than the odds of winning the pot, it is a wise decision to make the call. In this scenario, your odds of winning are 4 to 1 and your pot odds are 9 to 1. The money is too good here not to call. For the college students in the audience, keep taking those math courses. It'll help you to be able to calculate faster than your opponents. Another mathematical strategy used by poker players is implied odds. Implied odds are calculated the same way as pot odds, except with implied odds you have to take in consideration future betting, which has to be estimated because you have no way of knowing exactly how much will be bet in the future. Math is a very useful tool for poker players, but there are other strategies used to help a player to win more often than lose. All skilled players utilize the strategy of playing position. While playing poker, the dealer button moves one player to the left every time there's a new hand. The person with the dealer button is always the last person to act after the initial round of betting. Poker players know that the best position at the table is the dealing position. When positioned as the dealer, you have the advantage because you get to see what the other players are going to do before you have to make any decisions. Because of this advantage, skilled poker players usually play a wider range of hands in the dealing position. The worst positions at the table are the small and the big blinds because the players in these positions are the last to act after the initial round of betting. Playing in position allows you to gather useful information about what the opponents might have and is also advantageous because it can provide you with cheap bluffing opportunities. Another strategy used by poker players is called value betting. Value betting is when you know that your opponent is losing the hand, but you try to figure out the amount of money that the opponent will pay to stay in the hand rather than fold. If the opponent folds, no more money can be gained. Pokerology's Donovan Pallone said, "You should always ask, how can I make the most money out of this hand?" A great poker player will always be trying to maximize their profits, and that is the reason that value betting is important. In conclusion, When you're playing poker, you're not just rolling the dice. If it were just a game of luck, the same poker players would not keep winning million-dollar tournaments year after year. Those players consistently win because they know the math and the odds better than their opponents. As you can see, this is a game of extreme complexity that requires a substantial amount of thought and strategy. You may not be able to control the cards that you're dealt, but there are a vast amount of things that you can control and consider after the cards are dealt.